This episode was a lot of fun, and for me it really established Gon's simple genius, I guess you would call it. Very straightforward and gets things done.
Hunter x Hunter, Episode 9, Beware of Prisoners.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and prospective hunters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and excellent and mind-bending tale of Hunter x Hunter 2011. Our last episode, of course, saw us with really the Trick Tower, the third phase of the Hunter exam beginning, and things ending off. Of course, after the brief encounter between Tompa and one of the prisoners, Tompa just gave up before it even started, and already, needing 3 wins to win. Of course, our heroes, I guess you would call them, Killua and Gon and Liario and Kurapika, are already with their backs against the wall, so to speak, down 1-0. So that's where the episode left off, and that's where this one picks up. And let me tell you, it's great the way everything, man, I can't say enough good things about it. I'm enjoying every bit of it, the animation, the story, just all of it. It's just woven together great. And in this one, it focuses on the next fight, and the next fight is actually Gon, and Gon is going up against this kind of wiry-looking, sort of like, it looks kind of like a punk type person, maybe a skateboarder or something like that. You know, the hair combed over one side. Sudoken, I believe his name is. And apparently he's in for 100-something years for bombings and things of that nature. So as they come to the middle, to the arena over there to fight, this Sudoken says, listen, he says, you know, I'm not very strong, so I don't really want to do like a contest of strength. And Gon says, well, that's fine, but I'm not particularly bright, you know. I don't really want to do like a battle of wits or anything like that, you know. So Sudoken proposes and says, well, I have a proposal then. And he has this bag with him, and he pulls out 2 candles, and he says, how about we do a simple test. Each one of us gets a candle, and he tells him you can pick which one you want, and each one of us gets a candle, and whichever candle goes out first, that person loses, right? So Gon says, cool, that's great, you know. So several minutes are, which candle should we pick, you know, because one of them is long and one of them is shorter, about half the length, you know. And Liario and Kurapika and Killua, they're all talking about it amongst themselves, and, you know, I mean, the obvious choice would be to take the longer one, but has he sabotaged or done something with that one, because it's the obvious choice in which it'll burn faster, maybe. Or is he just trying to trick us into taking the short one, this and that? Well, the bottom line is they wind up leaving it up to Gon, and Gon says, you know, because he asked for their advice, and they said, it's up to you, you know. So he goes and says, okay, I'll take the long one, you know. So he just like that, he's very simple-minded in his way of thinking, but I also like the fact that he kind of has a sixth sense about him about many different things, and sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the quickest or the most simple of answers or solutions that presents itself is actually the right one. So he winds up taking this, and we find out as the candles are lit, Gon's, after a few minutes, starts burning just crazy like wildfire, you know, and we're like, what the hell? And we go and we see a little inner monologue from this Sudoken, and I guess what happened is he soaked the candles in oil. He actually soaked both of them in oil, but he also had replacement ones of a short and a long one, depending on which one Gon chose. So then when he went and pulled his out, his was going to be a normal candle, whether it was a shorter or longer one, and Gon's was always going to be the oil-soaked one, which would burn up real quick. So as this is going on, everybody's freaking out. Gon's candle's melting away, getting hot in his hand, you know. He doesn't have to protect his flame as much, he notices, because when they first started out, they were both like, whoa, you know, a little updraft from this void that's down around them, and you could lose very easily, right? So Gon winds up using his brains and his kind of simplicity, his simple-minded genius, I guess you would call it, and he goes in and kind of one quick movement just goes and thinks to himself, I don't need to sit here and guard this candle. It'll stay lit even from a draft or a wind or whatever, because it's burning so fast with being soaked in the oil, right? So he goes and puts the thing down and just goes and covers the like 10 or 20 foot distance between him and this Sudoken, just blows out his candle, right? So Sadokin loses. Sorry, buddy. And it happens so quick that he doesn't even have time to react to it. And come to think of it, even if he did, Gon's on the offensive. His candle's protected over there. Yes, it's burning down quickly, but even if he was able to move or dodge the initial lunge for it, all Gon's got to do is start creating some wind. And so, I mean, it's actually genius when you think about it, you know. So I loved the test. I thought it was, you know, it went well. So that's really, in essence, that's kind of what happened in the first half of the episode. The second half is Kurapika winds up going up against this other guy, Majitani, and he comes out and pulls his cloak off, and it's all about intimidation with him. He's got these marks on his chest, these hearts, and he's like, I've killed 19 people, and but I don't like uneven numbers. I'm so glad I get to face a 20th, and this and that, and, you know, and his face is all messed up. It's like, it looks, he's missing his nose. Kind of looks like a blue Michael Jackson, you know, right before Michael died. I'm not talking about like good early Michael from like the 70s and the 80s. I'm talking about like, you know, pedophile touching kids Michael from like the 90s up until the time he died. But anyway, this guy really, in essence, what he is he's a blowhard. He talks a lot of shit is what it is. So he's talking his shit, and he's, oh, you're going to be scared of me for this, for that, all these other reasons, and he's trying to intimidate Kurapika, right? And he's not having none of it. He just stands there, he's very calm, and he's putting all these rules on it. We're going to fight till somebody surrenders or dies. You can't have any weapons, blah, blah. Then he winds up going, and he says he's got a couple of tricks up his sleeve, and he jumps up into the air, and he's a big, hulking-looking dude. So, I mean, he looks pretty menacing. He kind of looks like a messed up, I don't know, from like, I guess you'd say like Bane from Batman. He looks just sort of like this giant, like, just grotesque figure, you know. But he leaps into the air, and he's, you know, smashes down right, and Kurapika, you know, jumps back in time, and he smashes into the ground, and then he talks about in his little inner monologue about how he's got, you know, he's got metal grafted into his hands or his fists or whatever, so he can break, you know, break concrete and this and that. And as he goes and turns his back or what have you, we see this giant spider, this 12-legged spider tattoo on his back, you know. All of a sudden, all the air goes out of the room, and everybody's like, oh, shit, you know. And then you get from the bystanders, from Gon and from Killua and Liario, they're like, oh, man, I know what that is. The 12-legged spider tattoo, that's the mark of the Phantom Troop. Now, if you remember, the Phantom Troop is the one that wiped out Kurapika's family, Kurapika's clan, for their eyes, right? And Kurapika, that's his whole deal of becoming a hunter, because, like, I'm going to avenge them, and I'm going to hunt down and kill every last one of the Phantom Troop, you know? So it's definitely like, okay. So you know the shit's about to go down, you know? So anyway, this guy turns back around, and he's, you know, talking his shit and this and that. He's going to do this, he's going to do that. And ultimately what winds up happening is just a great piece of animation, the way it's done, the way they kind of make you hold your breath for a second. All of a sudden, Kurapika looks up, and as he looks up, man, boom, just like that scarlet red glow to the eyes, you know? And this dude's like, what the fuck, you know? And then all of a sudden he looks, and like Kurapika's gone, and next thing you know, he's like up into his face and his throat. And this guy's got like a foot, this Majitini's got like a good foot on Kurapika, right? And Kurapika's kind of, I don't know, like thin, wiry looking, I guess you would say, you know, more like that. But boom, just grabs him, right? And picks him up, and then just like turns and like just does like a reverse face plant choke slam into the ground. Just drives him straight up into the thing. And I was like, oh my God, man, my bones hurt just watching this scene, you know? So he's knocked the fuck out, man, you know, like as Smokey would say from Friday. Man, Debo, you got knocked the fuck out! And that's exactly what it's like, you know? So very, very cool stuff, and very neat to see it. And then, so then Kurapika goes and comes back, you know, the match is over and this and that. They're up 2-0 and everything else. You know, they're going to send the next ones out. That's going to be Liario against this other masked, cloaked person. And right before the episode ends up, though, everybody's asking Kurapika, are you okay, and this and that. And he's like, yeah, you know, he goes, that wasn't a real, I knew he was a blowhard anyway, and it wasn't a real member of the Phantom Troop. Number one, they have their member number tattooed within the spider in the tattoo. So I knew he wasn't him. And number two, they don't bother to count how many people they've killed, and they sure as hell don't display it in tattoos on their chest, you know. So even though, but the great thing about it was that you saw Kurapika is like it's a sleeping giant. That's how I looked at it, because he's like, you know, but it's something about spiders in general. Whenever I see spiders, and I assume that just means not just anybody from the Phantom Troop, but just spiders in general, I just like flip out, you know. So Gon's like, oh, we better keep spiders away from Kurapika, you know. And Leato was like, oh yeah, we'll do that, you know. But my point is that he's talking about how he just, even though he knew that this was an imposter and everything else, could have probably beat him in a different way, but just fucking rage took over, you know, and just, it was depicted so well. The animation so fluid, the art style so nice. The colors, everything is just great. Oh, the sounds, the music. So the episode ends up right there, and I just cannot wait to watch the next one and see what happens with Ilario and of course his battle. And then if it actually comes down to Killua having to fight, I also want to see him actually in action, you know. So man, good stuff though. But my episode question for you is, brothers and sisters, what are your thoughts on Kurapika? And just, we haven't really seen anything, not a whole lot from him yet, and then seeing a little bit, I guess, and just sort of that rage, just in general, just the character itself and what we know so far about him. Leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
Man, why you look so angry? Put a comb through that hair, man, and go over and check out my Facebook and my Twitter.